So you're fresh off the tutorial boat in New World and you've never played this game before and you clicked on this video. This is a really good video to be clicking on because we're going to be breaking down some of the interfaces with New World and some of the nuances and mechanics with the game so that it helps you out here in the long run. By hitting the tab button, it brings you to your inventory, which your inventory is broken down very similar to most MMOs, where you have your armor, your weapons, your potions, also your crafting tools, and also your trinkets. And on the right here is your bags, and there's different sizes of bags that can go within these slots here. On the right hand side of the inventory screen is your pretty much your capacity of what you're carrying, and it's broken down in certain sections and categories. Some of the subcategories, such as like apparel for armor, and also like tuning orbs for keys for dungeons, jewel crafting, stone cutting, furniture, and pretty much any utility items and such as basic food items, pretty much organized within the right hand side of your screen. Other things to be paying attention to within your inventory screen is here at the very top of your inventory screen is your encumbrance. Your encumbrance is how much you can carry, and that is based upon the bags that you have here adds to your encumbrance level. This is your max. This is what you currently have equipped it. At the bottom of your inventory is your currency portion of your inventory, where it gives you the amount of gold coin that you have, the amount of repair parts or salvage parts, which that is used to repair your armor once it becomes damaged, and also your Azoth, which you collect in multiple different ways within the world. Here below, at the very bottom of your inventory, towards the bottom left, you can actually see the average gear score that you have. This gear score is based upon the averages of all the other gear scores of your armor and also your accessory types. Also below is your actual attributes, kind of a short breakdown, such as your strength, dexterity, intelligence, focus, constitution, and also your resistances as well. Also, in the same vicinity towards the middle, you can actually see your mana, your stamina, and also your HP, and then also any sort of buffs that you currently have running at the moment. You can actually mouse right over top of those and it will give you a description of what's occurring. Also, you do have a repair all as well. This is a nice little quick tip. Rather than repairing each individual item, you can just hit that and it uses your salvage and a little bit of your coin to repair all your gear. Your utility section here with your potions and your food items, these are quick slot items that you can utilize each of these type of items, the food, the regeneration potion, for example, and also this like encumbrance potion. A really important tip is that if any sort of potions or food related items that are in your inventory, any sort of related weight to those items, once actually placed from the inventory into here, negates encumbrance and actually removes the weight requirement on it, so you're not still encumbered. As you can see here, I'm at 98 encumbrance currently with these potions in my inventory. Then when I take them out and put them in my quick slot, it brings me down to 79.5. By hitting the escape button and going to the character portion, or hitting the K button on your keyboard, it will actually take you to your attributes section of your character. And in that menu, it shows the breakdown of each of your attributes for your character between strength, dexterity, intelligence, focus, and constitution. All of these have some sort of play within your character. For example, your strength, these specific weapons are gaining bonuses because of your strength. And what's great is that you can actually mouse over each of the individual weapons to give their actual description of the weapon and what it actually scales with that specific weapon. In addition to the strength and then the associated weaponry, what you can also check out is here below is the points in which you actually put into your said attribute. And once you reach a certain portion of your attribute in the value here, you get to these little nodes here, and these specific nodes have extra bonuses for your character. Like for example here, once I reached the required points of 50 for my strength, I was able to be granted 5% extra damage to melee light attacks and also plus 10% to my mining speed. And for example, if you continue down the line, there's actually multiple different bonuses that you can get depending on how high you bring the stat. Also, to keep in mind, there is one specific attribute that does not gain any sort of bonus or give any bonus to your weaponry, and that would be Constitution. Constitution is specifically based just for health. This is mostly and mainly used for tanks and just for any sort of character specification that needs a little bit more health to attributes of the armor. Depending on which weapon you select and which attribute you want to level up, there's also the weapon damage portion here on the right. That is actually explained right here, and it shows the actual weapon you have equipped and how much damage it's actually outputting due to the fact of your statistics here. If you were to reduce this stat, it would actually show in real time a negative amount or a positive amount. Same thing with your secondary item, which is your second weapon slot. Two additional items that you can do within your attributes here is that you can also respec. Respecing costs a certain amount of gold to respec all your attributes, and like for this one is requiring 332 gold to respec back down to 0 and re-put in my points for my level. Also, in addition, on the bottom of the window, you can actually see your current level right now and also how far in the level you are, plus any sort of additional rested XP that you may have. Within the character screen, you can select Weapon Mastery. Weapon Mastery will actually break down depending on which weapon that you're using, and you'll gain XP for that weapon. As that weapon levels up as you're using it, you'll gain more abilities, such as this life staff is currently maxed out, so we're going to use that as an example. This is the life staff. The life staff actually has a max EXP section here where it will tell you what level it's at and how close it is to the next level. And each time it levels up, you can actually place a point starting from the top and working your way down into any of these trees. As you're leveling up your weapon and selecting your new power abilities, these abilities can be reassigned to a new hotkey via hitting your left click on your mouse, and it will give you a sub menu to be able to rekey to a different key. By hitting M on your keyboard, this brings up your map of the area in New World, and there's multiple different territories and lots of information that you can get from this map. One of the items that you can utilize within your map is fast travel. When using fast travel, you'll be utilizing Azoth, and Azoth is actually a currency that you'll get from killing mobs and enemies within the world, plus also getting it from gathering and also doing quests. To be able to fast travel, you have to go to your map and then be able to go to the symbol that looks like a fast forward icon, and that will give you the option to fast travel. Now, do keep in mind, with fast traveling, cost of fast traveling is based upon the base cost, the distant costs, and also the encumbrance cost. So if you have too many items in your inventory, that can actually add to your encumbrance, which could also add to the cost of the fast travel. So as a good tip, if you're wanting to fast travel, try to keep it about as light as possible so that you cannot use as much Azoth. Or another alternative is the recall option. To recall to a certain area, the only places that you can recall to are settlements, and normally the inns within those settlements. To be able to recall to an inn in a settlement, first you have to visit the settlement itself and also check in at that inn. That will give you the option to be able to fast travel to that specific settlement in that inn that's within the settlement. It is a very good practice whenever you're leveling in a specific area to check in at the settlement in the area that you're leveling. If you're within the area leveling and doing quests and gathering and you're full in encumbrance but don't want to use the Azoth that you're currently saving for other things, you can recall, and recalling's free. The only downside to recalling is that it does take 60 minutes for the cooldown to go away. Within New World, you will gain lots of items for crafting and questing, and also apparel and weapons. There's a lot of different items that you can get a hold of. The storage shed is where you're going to be storing a lot of those items whenever you're going between town to town. Storage sheds are more or less your storage area for any of those types of items. Storage sheds have their own inventory within each of the settlements. Now, if you hit the M button to go to your map and check out the settlements and see if your faction owns that specific settlement, that storage box will actually be linked to the storage box of the coinciding settlement that is also owned by your faction, and you'll be able to take items, let's say here at Weaver's Fen. If you go to the storage box here where we're at currently, you'll be able to see the inventory that's here, and bring it over to the storage box that's over here. If I was to try to bring anything over, for example, from Restless Shore, that is actually owned by the different faction, and you're not going to be able to bring any items from this location to here. So you would actually have to physically be at this location and grab those items. That's one of the big upsides about the faction wars and taking over a territory, is that networked ability for storage sheds. Within the storage shed, if you hit E, that will actually bring up your storage shed and your inventory menu. The storage shed can actually have the same exact kind of configuration such as your inventory, and it has its own encumbrance as well, which can be up depending on the territory abilities that you've selected and bonuses within that certain settlement area or that map area. If you utilize this drop down menu here in the storage shed, this will actually select the other storage boxes in the other settlements. Within the character menu, if you select trade skills, this actually shows the breakdown of each one of your trade skills that you're trying to level up. In addition, by selecting that said skill, you can actually go in and see the progression of that skill. For an example, the mining skill that we're currently looking at, you can see each of the individual types of metals that you can mine, and shows when it's gatherable and when it can be tracked. It's going to happen. Yes, it will definitely happen. You will die. It is going to happen at any time, depending on if you get into a bad state of mobs or in the environment, or let's say you take on too much damage. It will happen. You'll end up dying. So what happens when you die? Well, when you die, you'll end up either respawning back to the nearest settlement, which could be a considerable ways away. If, let's say, for example, you're clear out here and it wants to bring you to the settlement right here, because if you don't have what's called a campfire down, you will respawn at the settlement or the closest settlement every time. Campfires are the best way to set your respawn point whenever you're going into the thick of some sort of mob or some sort of quest. To actually place a camp down, what you want to do is gather some wood and also some flint, and then what you're going to want to do is place that camp in a specific area that has even terrain, and also probably not near any sort of enemies. But for example, we're just going to use this area here, and you place it down, and then you'll apply those resources, the wood and also the flint, to your camp. Now if you see here, I'm actually out of flint, so we're actually going to go right over here. There should be some flint. Here we go. All right, we're good to go. So that actually sets your respawn point. Now the camp itself actually has a really nice setup depending on the tier of camp that you have, on being able to make, like, for example, tools, basic cooking, baits, concoctions, potions, that kind of thing. And that's all based upon, one, what you've learned on your other trade skills, and also what type of camp that you have. And to get the better types of camps, there will be quests within New World that will be able to upgrade your camp tier. So in each of the camp tiers, the camp looks a little nicer each tier. So to respawn at your camp, once you end up dying, you do have to keep within a 500 meter radius of this camp to make it active so that you can respawn back. If you're past 500 meters away from this camp and you die, it will send you back to the settlement, not to here. So that is a very good tip to know. Within your menu, if you hit the escape or you hit the J button, there's a section called journal. And within your journal is any sort of specific quest log that you would utilize in an MMO. It's really nice the way it's broken down, because it shows your side missions, your main story, and also the different types of missions depending on how the color of the title. This is like a main story quest, so it's got the deep yellow, and it's also pinned. And that's another thing too, you can pin and unpin quests here to the right, so you can see on your quest log here on the right hand side of the screen, and you'll be able to see it within the journal kind of highlighted there. And you can unpin at any time, and you can also abandon quests as well. If, let's say, it's a low level quest that you got and it's something you're never going to probably end up doing, you can just abandon the quest. Also, besides the side stories and the main story, you also have faction quests and town projects. All those different categories and said missions are broken down in these sections here. So if you want to see those specific missions, you can select over here as well. All right, guys, we have made it to the end of the video, and I'd like to thank you for watching this quick tips video, and I hope it helps out when you're starting out in New World. If you'd like to see additional content, definitely hit like and subscribe. That will keep you updated on any new content that comes out. And then also place any comments on the video as well if you'd like to see any additional content or have any suggestions or opinions.